Hello, we are Group 9, consisting of members William Pano, Yufeng Liang, and myself, Victor Truffin. Today we're going to be talking about our project, employee application, and we're going to go ahead and start off by looking at the database portion. For our project, we decided to go with an employee database application. The database consists of four tables: department table, employee table, login table, and product table. The task of this database is for employees to have an easier access to the contents of the store. We're going to see the first table, which is department table. This table consists of three main rows: department ID, department name, and employee name. This table is important for storing all employees' department identification and department they belong to. There are three department names which consist of produce, electronics, and meat. We have three employees in total and each one assigned to each one of these departments. For the primary key, we assigned it to DEID because it's more beneficial since it's non-changing. For example, if you put the key as a name, then it wouldn't be good because eventually there will be duplicate names. For our second table, employee table, this table consists of three rows: employee ID, name, position, and position ending. Uh, each employee in this table has a position with a unique employee ID. Their positions are cashier, stocker, and chef. There are only one employee that is assigned to each one of these positions. So no one else from these three employees that are shown are gonna be doing any of the other positions. So they're coded into that. The primary key we assign to this is gonna be the EEID, the employee ID, because again, it's much harder to duplicate a unique number instead of having a name, or, for example, as the primary key. For our third table, it's login table. This table is what gives us the access to the store and the employee's information. This table consists of two rows: username and password. The database table is assigned to store the information of the employee who work in the store and is authorized to log in into the application. So if the name and the password don't match, uh, you will not be able to retrieve any information from the database. But if it matches, of course, it will retrieve. The primary key for this table is the username. For our last table, this table shows all the information about the products that are in the store. This table consists of five rows: product ID, department name, department ID, section, and product name. This table accesses tables from other tables as well in the database. For example, department ID and department name. The primary key for this table is product ID. This is the most viable and unique and unchanging that's specific to this table. And that's going to be for the database. I am going to go ahead and pass it to William, who is going to be talking about the PHP scripts.
Thank you, Victor. So now we're going to talk a little bit about PHP scripting. So another problem that all developers will encounter at some point when designing any type of application or website that uses a database is to establish the connection between the database or the data tables and the application. To resolve this issue, one would have to use PHP scripting for each individual need. So we wrote several different PHP scripts to handle all the individual necessary tasks to ensure the proper data is being accessed by the application. So simply put, PHP is just a server-side scripting language. They're simple statements that allow you to connect the database and access the data from the database and the data tables. And really, the only thing necessary is the client, which in this case would be the application. In another case, it might be a website. And the another portion that be necessary is the database. So you're making the connection between the database and the client. So the actions that we had to script using the database for our application were login or user identification and authentication, product availability, because this is a grocery store app, this is necessary for the app to work, active employees, and employee assignment. So attaches the employee login method, allowing each employee to log into the app. So this really compares the user inputted username and password to the ones stored within the database. It calls the login table and it makes the comparison and then it outputs whether the login is successful. So this is one of the important factors that we were talking about in a grocery store would be the product availability. So this is very, very crucial for the function of the application. Um, this one really outputs available products. It uses the department name from the product table. You see right here, it'll say product name and it'll say department. It'll use dname, which is the column within the department table. It parses the section and the product name to see current stock and basically to output it to the application. So script allowing functionality to view current active employees. So this outputs the current employees for the grocery store by looking through the department table. Um, Nothing too complicated, just outputs current employees. So you'd kind of want to use this if you were wanting to know, let's say you look through the app and you were wanting to know if who is responsible for a certain department. Like let's say there's something wrong with the department and you receive a complaint, you want to see who's responsible for it. This will output the employee name. It just fetches the result for you and it outputs the employee name to you so you know really who is working in the department. This is another important script that allowed the user to view other clocked in employees. So this outputs the department name from the department table. It also puts the employee on shift by using employee name, the e-name column right here. Really, it's shortened down. That means employee name. It's outputting the employee name column. And really, these are very simple and they're going to get the job done. These really simple scripts are going to be the connecting, are what going to make the connection between the database and our application, or like I said, the client. And now I'd just like to give Yufeng the chance to talk about maybe the most important part as well, which is the application itself.
So, for our app, we created something pretty simple, and the app displays important information that's related to our grocery app. So first, in our code, um, we requested access to the internet in order to access our PHP scripts with the IP address. Um, then after we launch the app, we have a login screen that takes in a username and password. And if somehow the information was entered wrong, a simple error message pops up and it'll state that the password or username was wrong. So our plan was to have the app be available in the store's PDA devices so that it can serve as a clock-in functionality when the employee actually logs in. So once a user logs in, uh, a screen with 3 working functions will appear. And for each of these functions, we created image buttons for each that branched out to different activities in Android Studio. And all 3 of these image buttons are essentially the same code, but just the URL changed. And so back to the home button screen. Here's employees can check for certain information. So first, for current employees, um, this is for image button 1, it led to this activity, and in turn, it displays the current employees that we have in our database right now. So right now, we only have 3. And then for image button 2, it's available products. In here, it led to activity or inactivity in which displays our available products. Right now, we only have 3 available products right now. Chicken in section 30, in department meat, in monitor section 20, department electronics. And for our last function, we have stations. And what this does is it displays the employee stations. So current employees, this is where they're scheduled to work. It will tell you the department they're in, department ID, and it shows the employee on shift. And finally, here's a demo of the app.